Hey everyone, my name is Hawks, and welcome back to Hawks Talks. Today, we're going to be talking about Exile from ShadowClan, the newest Warrior Cats graphic novel to hit the shelves, and whether or not you should pick it up for yourself. I've gone ahead and read the whole thing for you, but to address the elephant in the room for my returning viewers, yes, I have talking sprites now, and they're every bit as wonderful as they look. You can find a link to the artist Vexney's YouTube in the description. Make sure to go check him out, and go ahead and tell him thanks if you see him in the comments. Thank you again, Vexney. These are really awesome. If you want to know my initial thoughts after I finished the book, it was probably something like, that's it? That's it? Seriously? So yeah, not a very good first impression. If you consider yourself to be a hardcore Warriors fan that has every other book already on your shelves and in your collection, absolutely go ahead and pick this one up if you can. These graphic novels will always be something to have if you want to just look at the art or appreciate some of these panels, because they really are something. James L. Barry always knocks it out of the park with the art direction, though I will admit, aesthetically, the main character this time around, Nightpelt, is a bit hard to read sometimes given their jet black coat. Of course, that's just a nitpick, but the novel only really conveys any emotion to you that he has, unless it's like really trying to make you see his face during the panel. And oftentimes that can just be a bit too hard to discern. Exile from ShadowClan has got to be the weakest in terms of the graphic novels to release in the past several years, especially compared to both Winds of Change and A Shadow in RiverClan. It's really not that good, or even necessary, to be honest. You see, with the other two graphic novels to release in the same style, and even honestly the rest of the graphic novel collections, they always feel like they have a story to be told. Something that we missed, something that we might not would have known, something that could give us insight into otherwise underappreciated aspects and underutilized characters in the main series. Exile from ShadowClan is most of those things, but also none of them at the same time. It's not to say that the book is bad, though. In fact, I'd say it's a pretty middle-of-the-road entry that's got some pretty shocking panels if you're kind of intrigued by how hard they'll try to shock you in these itty-bitty little kitty cat books. But all the book does on a marginal level is just build off of already previously established lore. Exile from ShadowClan takes place during roughly around the same time as Yellowfang's Secret, and while I've yet to read that book for myself, it is to my understanding that if you've read that book, you'd already recognize a lot of what the overarching plot of Exile from ShadowClan covers. The conflicting part about that, though, is that while I want to recommend it to people who've already read Yellowfang's Secret as sort of an add-on that you can read if you've just finished it or are returning to the story again, I don't really think I should. There are definitely things that you'll want to know that happened, and because so much of this book, even down to Nightpelt's difference in characterization from Yellowfang's Secret to the main arcs, borrows so heavily from it that it's frankly just a visual retelling of the core takeaways from that story, just kind of continued up until after Into the Wild. You'll definitely understand what's going on and when a lot better than anyone else if you have read Yellowfang's Secret. But that's not to say that this new book is without any of the same problems. And, I mean, do we really need to know what exactly happened to the elders when we all know they just show up again during Into the Wild again anyway? Maybe just skip this one this time. or come back to it after you've read Yellowfang's Secret. The book just kind of won't be the same unless you do. If you want to just buy Exile from ShadowClan and read it, absolutely go ahead and do it. I just don't really think that it's worth the sacrifice of learning what happens before you get to experience that for yourself beforehand. And keep in mind, I say that as someone who hasn't read Yellowfang's Secret myself going into this book either. But that brings us to our spoilers. If you want to know what I'm talking about, watch on ahead, especially if you've read Yellowfang's Secret. But don't say I didn't warn you. I won't touch on any spoilers specific to this book, but there will be spoilers for the first arc in a way that might soil how you perceive the whole leader of ShadowClan plotline. Skip to the time on screen now if you would like to avoid these. Spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Going into this book, I'm sure most of us were expecting to finally get an answer about Nightstar's leadership and why exactly he didn't get his 9 lives. But because of this, and honestly because of their return to Broken Star's ShadowClan again at all, this book was kind of destined to fail from the start. They really needed to just forget about this, or at least try to give us an answer, but they don't. The whole thing with Nightstar was kind of just pushed off until the end of the book, and then we get to see him actually talking to StarClan, but this really should have been way more of a focus for the entire book, or honestly, and this is the one that I'd prefer, they should have just left it out or made Nightpelt unable to commune with StarClan in the first place. I won't be putting up screenshots, but I'm sure you can find those on the internet yourself in the coming days, because I don't want to spoil anyone scrubbing through the video to find the end of the spoilers, but basically Nightpelt talks to Ragged Star, and Ragged Star is all kind of pensive looking and stuff, and he's like super upset, but then he just tells Nightpelt, yeah, ShadowClan already has a leader, we can't help you with that, bud, sorry. Broken Star promised that he would make ShadowClan feared by the other clans, and he did, but we can't choose leaders for the living cats anyway, even though that's exactly what we did when we first made the clans, but nobody's paying attention to that because this isn't a Dawn of the Clans book, and nobody's actually read any of those books anyway, right? Sorry. And it just makes me want to bang my head up against a wall. The whole point about this in the first arc was that we didn't really know how StarClan worked in the first place. StarClan's presence and overall influence over the series has drastically changed since last it was touched on by the end of The Darkest Hour. So applying that logic to that point in the timeline is it just won't and doesn't work at all. So like the whole justification of Broken Star fulfilled his promise as leader, so we can't remove him, doesn't make any sense. It makes 0 sense at all. Yes, it still accomplishes the same goal of, should we really trust StarClan? But it's such a backward way of thinking, derived from the mystery that made it so intriguing in the first place, that it's kind of like they're just spoon-feeding you the answer like you're too stupid to start questioning these things for yourself. And this whole coddling and sympathizing because, oh, ShadowClan is being tricked by mean old bad guy Broken Star, so we should feel bad for them, is instantly gone the moment that StarClan enables this kind of behavior by not taking his lives away from him, like he's not done enough already to warrant them to do so. And the worst part about it all is that they have to do this because this is what happened in the first arc. They can't just rewrite the canon of a main series book. And it worked then because we didn't know anything and had to guess for ourselves. So why even go back to that just to ruin it for the reader? And again, if so much of the book isn't even about that at all, just forget about it and leave it out so that it's not the last thing we're left to think about at the end of the graphic novel. Because the rest of it is not that bad. It's honestly not that bad. Yes, if you've read Yellowfang's Secret, you probably know what's going to happen generally, and no, you will not be any less angry at the stuff Broken Star gets away with, especially with Clawface. Like, why even make me think Clawface is kind of a good guy and then get rid of that in like the last 20 pages of the book for no reason? Like, he didn't have to inevitably steal children away from their home and die on the spot. Like, you didn't even show that he died in this book. You kind of just expected us to know in the first place. But luckily, as a graphic novel, reading it isn't the only thing that you can do with the book anymore. But even still, they do build off of what happened and tell some different stories. Just not with anything too important, especially to the plot at large. And not even in a way that really helps us get more out of these characters either, which is supposed to be one of the main appeals of these graphic novels. I get why it exists, but I don't. If you want to know what happens to the elders who were exiled from ShadowClan before they help Firestar in overthrowing Broken Star, pick this one up. If you don't, you're not really missing anything. Get it if you've read Yellowfang's Secret before too, yeah, but also realize that you're going to have to relive a lot of that anger you may have harbored throughout that with this one as well. Giving it a ranking, it's probably going to have to be a solid D tier for me, and that's D like in Deborah or something. I don't know, I can't think of another D word right now. If you want to send me any fan art, please tag me in it on Twitter. A link to my account will be in the description box down below. At the end of my videos, I always show off your work if I have any and give you a shout out as well. Thank you all so much again for the fan art that I've received in the past. If you like this video, try checking out some of the stuff up on screen now. Don't forget to drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe with all post notifications on as well. My name is Hawks, and I'll see you all next time. Later!